What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about 10 apocalypse bikes that you're going to want if shit hits the fan, whether it's zombie apocalypse, whether it's a biological warfare, or anything where you need to get around, possibly, you know, pick up some food, some supplies, anything to get you going. And you know that the engine's going to be bulletproof, it's going to be reliable, it's going to be easy to maintain, easy to fix, and we'll just kind of go through 10 different bikes, and you let me know in the comments which is your favorite. All right, let's go.
All right, let's get into it. So the bikes that I chose on this list, they're going to be bulletproof. All right, they're going to be tough as nails, they're going to be dependable, and that's what you're going to want in any type of apocalyptic situation. You're not going to want something that you're going to have to fiddle around with this and that, you know. You want to just have something that just works. Another big thing that I look for is to make sure that we're going to have good gas mileage, because you're not going to have a lot of gas to be you know, just dumping out on a bike with a big engine, or any vehicle with a big engine, you know. It's got to have relatively good ground clearance, because more than likely the streets are going to be dumped upon. There's going to be all sorts of different you know, logs and crap that's going to be everywhere. So you're going to want to make sure that you got enough ground clearance to get over all that junk. It's going to have a decent carrying capacity, whether it's going to be another passenger or for you to get supplies on. And the weight's got to be pretty low. The lower the weight usually on the bike, the better the gas mileage is going to be. And we're not going to be including any scooters or mopeds because they just break down too often. They're not really reliable. Their engines aren't strong or bulletproof. So we're going to go from small CCs to the large CCs. All right, first on this list is going to be the Honda XR150L. Now this is a very light bike, and a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, that's a new bike, and it isn't. It actually been in the Philippines and Thailand and all these different like small Asian countries for a really long time, and it's been very dependable, and the price is really low on it. It's going to be I believe it's a 149cc engine. Top speed's going to be about 65 miles per hour. It's only going to weigh about 280 pounds, so it's a very light bike. It's got a 2.8 gallon gas tank, and you're going to get around 125 miles per gallon. Let me say that again, 120 to 125 miles per gallon. That's insane. All right, that's going to really make your gas go a long way. Only downside of this is it's probably only going to go maybe like 65 miles per hour or something like that. So you're not really going to push too much more. And if you're a bigger person, expect to only get about 60 miles per hour. It's carbureted, so you know if a fuel injector takes a shit, you're going to have to wait until that fuel injector comes in. Now on carbureted bikes, you don't have to worry about that. So one less thing to go wrong is going to be better in a shit hits the fan kind of scenario. It's going to have 12.5 horsepower, and that's going to be enough to get you kind of where you need to go. It's not going to be, you know, gobs of power or anything like that, but it's going to be enough to haul you and a little bit of carrying capacity around. So that's our first bike. On to our second bike. We're going to have a Yamaha TW200. This is another bulletproof, reliable bike. It was made actually to be an agricultural bike, so you can kind of zip around on farms and any place that is just a little bit too far to walk to. This is going to be a really good bike for that. It's a little underpowered, but it's built like a tank, so you know that it's not going to die on you or anything like that. It's going to be 196cc, and it's going to be an air-cooled engine, which is really nice. because some of those liquid cool engines, that's just one more thing to break down, especially, you know, when you got a radiator, or you got to keep on changing the radiator fluid, or if you get a crack in it, you get a stone that hits the radiator and it starts leaking on you. So you don't have to worry about that with the TW200. It's going to have 16 horsepower, so it's going to be a little bit more than the 150, the XR150. So it's going to have a little bit more power to it. You're going to have a little bit more carrying capacity. Top speed is going to be about 70 to 75 miles per hour. The weight is going to be 275 pounds. So a very light bike as well. It's going to have a 31-inch seat height, so it's very low to the ground. It's going to have 10.4 inches of ground clearance. That's a lot of ground clearance, especially for a bike that sits so low. It's going to have 1.7 gallon gas tank. It's going to be 75 miles to the gallon. So that's really good too, you know. These are all really high up mile per gallon bikes that we're talking about right now. It's going to be carbureted, so you don't have to worry about fuel injectors. And the only downside about this bike is that it has fat tires. Now it's a good thing because the stability is going to be there, but finding, you know, fat tires in a zombie apocalypse or any type of apocalypse situation, it's not going to be as easy as finding, you know, 18s or 17s or 21, you know, inch tires, the normal sizes. These tires are going to be a little bit thicker. Alright, we're going to move on to the next bike. We have our Yamaha XT250. It's going to be a 249cc air-cooled engine. And it's going to go anywhere from 70 to 80 miles per hour. Probably topping out somewhere about 75 miles per hour. The seat height is going to be 32.7 inches. We got a 2.5 gallon gas tank. And it's going to get about 75-76 miles per gallon. It's got a really good ground clearance of 11.2 inches, and you're sitting at about 20 horsepower. It's got 5 gears on it, so it's going to be a little bit tight on the freeway, but you'll be able to do it. Now this bike is carbureted in some years, and then it's fuel injected in other years. So it's kind of just search for whatever you like more. Personally, me, I'd rather have a carbureted bike for a zombie apocalypse, just because, like I said, it's one less thing to break down. Carburetors run just as good as fuel injected bikes do as well. So let's see here. I believe it's 2013 and up were fuel injected. Anything below that were all carbureted. So that's actually one of my favorite bikes on this list. It's air-cooled engine too, so you don't have to worry about a radiator. One less thing to break down as well. Alright, on to our next bike. Alright, next bike on our list is going to be the CRF250L by Honda. And it's going to be a 249cc liquid-cooled engine. Top speed is going to be about 80 to 85 miles per hour, give or take a little bit depending on the size of the rider. You're going to get about 60 miles to the gallon. It's going to have 23 horsepower. The gas tank's 2 gallon. Seat height's 34.7 inches. It's going to be a 6-speed gearbox. It's going to be at 320 pounds. You're going to get, about 10 inches of ground clearance on that. I believe the 2012 models are going to be, 2012 and up are going to be the fuel injected, and then below that are going to be carbureted. So CRF250L, I own this bike, and I'm talking it's bulletproof, it's reliable, it's a really fun bike to ride, and it's a really easy bike to ride. I never had any problems with anything different than just normal maintenance on it. these bikes, especially anything by Honda, really tends to last an extremely long time. Honda makes their bikes just so overbuilt that this is why everybody buys these bikes, because they last forever. And if you buy any of these bikes on the list, the resale value is going to be not much lower than a brand new bike. It's so crazy. I don't know why dual sports, they hold their value so well, but they do. All right, and obviously the next bike up is going to be the CRF300L. This bike is pretty new. Like I was saying in my last videos, it's a great bike. Nora Lee took it up and down South America all the way up to Alaska, and it performed pretty well. The electronics on the bike were acting a little goofy, but I think this is just because it's a Gen 1 bike. It's the first year, 2 years of the bike, and it needs time to evolve and really get bulletproof. The engineers just need to figure out the little bugs and get rid of them for the next generation of the CRF300L. But so far it's been holding up really, really well, mainly because Honda, they have great engineers that really do justice for their motorcycles. So this is going to be a 286cc liquid cooled engine. So you are going to have a radiator on it. It's going to get 73 miles to the gallon. The seat height is going to be 34.6 inches. Your ground clearance is going to be 11.2 inches. The horsepower is going to be somewhere about 26, 27 horsepower, maybe 28 horsepower, which is more than enough to, haul around a passenger or haul around, some gear with you. It's going to be a 6-speed transmission, and it's going to have a 2.1 gallon gas tank. All right, the next bike on the list is going to be our KLX250. It's going to be a 249cc liquid cooled engine. It's going to be fuel injected some years, and then carbureted is going to be the older models. It's going to have a 6-speed transmission. It's going to weigh about 300 pounds. It's going to have a 2-gallon gas tank, 21 horsepower, so more than enough for carrying capacity and get what needs to get done, basically. The seat height is going to be about 35 inches, and the ground clearance is going to be 11.2 inches. Your top speed is going to be somewhere about 65, maybe 70 miles per hour, depending on the rider's weight. So this is a very tried and tested bike. The KLX250 has been around for quite some time, at least over a decade, in many different iterations. Kawasaki in general, they tend to have really good products that last and do a fantastic job of being reliable and really doing the things that you need it to get done. All right, so the next bike that we have on the list is going to be our KLX300. This is another favorite with dual sport riders. It's going to be a 292cc liquid cooled engine. The seat height is going to be 35.2 inches. Ground clearance is going to be about 9.8 inches. It's going to be a 6-speed transmission, and it's going to have 24 horsepower. The weight is going to be 302 pounds. It's going to have a 2-gallon gas tank, and you should be getting somewhere about 60 miles, maybe 60, 65 miles per gallon. Miles per gallon. And it's going to be, I believe, fuel injected since 2020, and it's a very new bike, so you don't really have a ton of notions that the engine's bulletproof yet. Now I believe it's made off the same chassis, same engine of the KLX250, so I think it's probably just bored out a little bit different. a little bit bigger, so basically you should have the reliability issue there. I just haven't tested it 100% for sure, but I know a lot of people, they will literally throw down on this bike because it is one of those bikes that just will last a really long time. And Kawasaki, like I said, just like Honda, is very, very reliable. All right, the next bike that we have on our list is the DRZ400. If you know anything about Suzuki riders, they are loyal and they want bikes that last. Suzuki riders are some of the coolest riders out there because they really get value for money, you know? And Suzuki's lineup really does give you a lot of value for money when it comes to, you know, their GSXR series or their V-Strom series, their DR650 series or DR400 series. They all have a lot of value for what you're getting. And to top that off, you're getting reliability as well. So the DRZ400, it's going to be a 398cc liquid cooled engine. It's going to have a whopping 11.8 inches in ground clearance. That is massive. You're going to be going over whatever you need to go over. It's going to get about 50 miles per gallon. It has a 2.6 gallon gas tank. The seat height's going to be very tall. It's going to be a 36.8 inch seat height. So if you're a short rider, this might not work for you. Or it's going to at least be kind of uncomfortable for you. You have 39 horsepower, so that's going to be a lot of horsepower for you to haul anything around. Oh, pardon me, guys. Let's see here. The weight is going to be 317. We don't need any road. We'll just go on the grass. The weight is going to be 317 pounds, so fairly light bike. It's going to be liquid cooled. It's going to be a 5-speed transmission. And unfortunately, since it's kind of like a 400cc engine, freeway speeds might not be great, but they're going to be adequate. You're going to be able to go wherever you need to go. Even if it is long distance, I still would put my money on the DRZ400 being able to do whatever it needs to do. All right, and it is going to be a carbureted bike. All right, so next bike on our list is going to be the KLR650. And if you ever watched Ryan F9's video on how he killed that KLR, oh my God, that just shows the reliability of that bike. He literally threw it in a lake, left it overnight, and came back, got the water out of it, dried up the plugs, fired right up. Those KLR 650s, they last forever. Literally, you're gonna get like mad at the bike because it's not dying and you can't get a new bike before it actually, you know, breaks down on you. So the specs on it are gonna be 652cc liquid cooled engine, very dependable, reliable bike. It's gonna have 40 horsepower, so not a ton of horsepower, but it's gonna be more than enough for another passenger, for, you know, cargo that you're gonna need to put on. The ground clearance is gonna be 8.3 inches. Seat height's gonna be 35 inches, and it's gonna be a 5.8 gallon gas tank. So that's a lot of gas and a lot of mileage you're gonna get just on one tank. Let's see here, it's gonna be about 42 miles per gallon. So not the best, but you know, pretty decent, way better than most cars. And then it's gonna be carbureted and fuel injected. So I don't need to go over why carbureted I think is a little bit better for a zombie apocalypse. So yeah, that's a pretty good bike as well. You know, Kawasaki in general, they really kick ass. So on to our last bike. All right, so now we are coming down to the last bike. And this is gonna be my bike that I own, and I took a lot of time getting into the specs and figuring out, like, you know, what would be the best bike
for any type of crazy situation that would be apocalyptic, you know, whether it be, you know, a zombie apocalypse, whether it be a chemical warfare apocalypse, whether if, like, you know, we get crazy, more crazy leaders that, you know, drop us into horrible situations. So this is going to be the bike right here. All right. So it's going to be a 644cc air-cooled engine, and it is going to have an oil cooler on it. And that's basically what this guy is going to be right here. It's just going to cool down your oil. Doesn't have any fancy parts on it. Nothing really to break down. It's going to have 10.4 inches of ground clearance. It's going to be 43 horsepower, so a ton of power, lots of fun. It's going to be 5-speed transmission. And like I said, that really isn't going to make a big deal. Even on the highway, I still can go over 90 miles per hour with this bike. The seat height's going to be 34.8 inches. It's going to have a 3.4 gallon gas tank. The wet weight's going to be about 350, 355 pounds. And you can shave a lot of that weight off just by taking off, you know, parts of your exhaust and replacing them with lighter parts. It's going to get 45 to 55 miles per gallon depending on how you jet it. And it is going to be a carbureted bike. So yeah, that is the DR650. It is really nice, reliable, dependable, and it gets the job done. So out of all these bikes, I definitely would choose the top two would be the XT250 because it's an air-cooled engine and there's really nothing to break down on it. Parts are readily available. The bike's been selling for decades, so you know that whatever part that you need to find, you could probably find it in an old barn or something like that, you know, probably not too far away. And parts are cheap. So if we do still have any type of, you know, sellers up on eBay or wherever, or if there's someone trying to sell something on some type of version of a Craigslist in an apocalyptic future, you know, more than likely they're going to have some parts for this bike. It's going to get really good gas mileage, and it's a good looking bike. And I'm trying to think, the ground clearance is pretty good on it. And there's just, I think the biggest thing is you just don't have to worry about, you know, things breaking down on it because it's such a reliable engine. And the second bike that I would choose would be the DR650 because for one, it's going to get you wherever you need to go. If you need to go extremely long distances, it's going to take you there, you know. If you need it to be more of a kind of do it all, but not being the best at anything kind of bike, that's what it is, you know. It's not going to get you somewhere super, super fast like a GSX-R would, but at the same time, it can do so much more, you know. It really is like a utility, like a Swiss Army knife of a bike. And you really can't go wrong picking a DR650. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down in the box below. Be nice to each other, try to at least, and we'll see you on the next video. All right, peace.